guy starts out good and square, gets around that corner, he's throwing his free arm over his head, which is good. He's not crossing his body. He could drive his free arm, or his riding shoulder rather, forward a little bit better and lift a little bit better with his riding arm. He's kind of a little bit loose, and you can see his riding shoulder kind of going towards the back instead of driving it forward and throwing his free arm over his head. That'll just kind of help put that weight on the inside leg a little bit better. And again, lift on that rope and shove those hips when that bull kicks. And that was a good ride. This guy here, he just doesn't really lift on his rope and shove his hips when that bull kicks. He's just kind of letting that bull pull that rope away from him, and it gets him raised up and blows his hand out of the rope. Guy does a good job of keeping square, throwing that free arm over his head. It's a great ride. Had to get off away from his hand. The bull didn't want to turn back the other way. Again, he could work on driving that riding shoulder forward, and you know, lifting on that rope a little bit better. That'll kind of keep him up against that rope a little bit tighter. Other than that, it was a good ride. Starts good. See, kind of gets that free arm a little bit raised up. That bull's going away from his hand. You got to drive that riding shoulder forward. Anytime a bull spins, you got to drive that riding shoulder forward. When they're going away from your hand, you got to keep that free arm down low, because if you don't, it's going to make all that weight go to the outside of the spin. Here, this guy, he gets set back. Bull goes away from his hand. His free arm comes way up high, which then puts all the weight on the outside of the spin, and he just can't get around that corner. Hand comes out of his rope, and it's all over. So let's see where he got into the spin, got into the well, and then he crosses his body with his riding arm. Or his free arm, sorry. You never want to cross your body with your free arm, because as you can see right here, it crosses his body. Where'd the weight go? It went right into the inside of the spin, right where he was trying to stay away from. So right here, the guy just kind of gets rocked away from, or into his hand, and the bull just kind of keeps moving away from him. He could definitely square up a little bit better. Let that free arm, keep that free arm kind of out towards the front of him, so he doesn't get the weight on the wrong side of the spin. And here's, thanks for trying hard, putting a lot of effort out. The bull just kind of sets him up, gets him kind of rocking and rolling, get him kind of loosened up a little bit. And then when that bull turns back, see where his riding shoulder didn't go forward and his free arm went up high, which put all the weight on the outside of the spin. This ride, this guy's hustling good. He just kind of gets loosened up a little bit, run off his rope instead of doing that. He should have lifted on his rope a little bit more, shoving his hips. It's a little bit out of square here. See where that riding shoulder kind of went back towards the back of the bull, and that put the weight on the outside of the spin.
Let's go.
This guy, see where his riding shoulder kind of went behind, it went towards the back, and that put the weight on the outside of the spin. When a bull spins into your hand or away from your hand, you got to drive your riding shoulder forward, and then if he's into your hand, you got to throw your free arm over your head at the same time. You drive your riding shoulder and throw your free arm, get a hold with the inside of the inside foot, and that's going to get you around that corner. Did a good job getting hung up. He stayed on his feet and got out of there all right. So. Looks good. A little loose. He could lift on his rope a little bit better, keeping his hips on his rope a little more solid, a little more tight. But he was dang sure hustling, bending at the hips. He's not just getting a hump in his back and reaching forward with his upper body. He's actually driving out over that bull with his upper body, his torso, shoving his hips. He needs to lift on his rope a little better so that he's not sliding off his rope every time. That's just going to come with practice. It's like, looks good. Kind of hard bull to track there, back and forth. Kind of gets off his rope a little bit. Maybe he needs to work on his timing on a drop barrel. Get to where he's, got the right timing there with the bull. But you can see he's crossing his body with his free arm, and then that bull goes away from his hand, and his free arm comes really high, which put the weight on the outside of the spin. So again, away from your hand, you got to drive your riding shoulder and drop your elbow to keep from going to the outside of the spin. Into your hand, you got to drive your riding arm, your riding shoulder, and throw your arm over your head all at the same time. On this one here, he just looks like he just got flat beat out. When a bull first jump, when he comes out, stay square and get up over the front, because typically the first jump is going to be a rare. The front end's going to come up. You can see there that his hand come out, he was raised up, he didn't lift on his rope, and he didn't get in time with that bull. So from here, just kind of weird timing bull, hop and skip. This guy he just didn't get in time with him. He's a little bit loose with the hips. He's not lifting on his rope a whole lot, which is pulling his body off of his rope every time that bull steps forward. And that's going to get you loosened up. It's going to hurt. It's going to make it a tough ride. So you've got to lift on your rope and shove your hips all at the same time when a bull kicks. It's starting good. Kind of loosened up. Got to the inside of that spin there. And typically when a bull's welly, they're kind of moving away from the spin. So it's a little bit tough because you want to drive your shoulder and make that move to get in there, but you can't go too far because they'll drop you right in the hole there. So you can see here he got too loose with his outside foot, and that just dropped him right in there. This one here, this bull really had some big old hard belly rolls out there. Guy kind of got loosened up back and forth. His upper body started rocking and rolling, and then he come off. So had he stayed a little more square with his free arm, you see he crossed his body right there, and then when that bull turned back away from his hand, he got his free arm way up high to put the weight on the outside of the spin. This guy's doing good, making the moves. He's getting a little loosened up, but he's still hustling. He's still trying. He made a great ride. Get off good. You can see here again in slow motion. He's squared up. He's out over the front, waiting for that bull to start jumping and kicking. He's driving that riding shoulder, throwing that free arm over his head. He's not crossing his body. He's got weight on the inside foot. Just keeps making that move. He gets a little bit out over the front too much, but he's looking good. He could work on lifting on that rope and shoving his hips a little bit better, so he doesn't slide off his rope. But other than that, it was a good ride. Right here, Dustin Elliott decided to get on a bull and show the students how it's done. So see here, Dustin starts square, stays square, free arm, always back to position 1 when that bull's jumping. Position 2, lifts on his rope and shoves his hips. He keeps his back straight, good posture. That helps him stay up on his legs. He's using his feet. He's squeezing with his legs. He's lifting on his rope, so that bull never pulled that rope away from his body. He lifted on that rope and shoved his hips at the same time. That's just something that comes with practice. This guy's a world champion, and he's practiced and to get to this point. And that's what you need to do every single time.